Yes, sir. And we are back with another one. As always, it's your favorite's favorite, Mason.
And you already know it's your girl Kori Deez, aka Lemon Squeeze, aka the motherfucking vessel, bringing you a word tonight, okay?
The vessel. Okay. All
The
right.
vessel,
The vessels, right?
Okay.
And it's me, Miss Lizzie Baby. Welcome to Hush Your Mouth.
Bye bye.
So, guys, today we have a really good topic. It's kind of like a follow up to our last week's topic, our surprise edition topic, actually, which was the Derek Chauvin uh, case and stuff. What was that title? I forgot. Um,
Our title was basically
America
go ahead.
through our lens. Yes,
Yeah,
America
that's it.
through our lens. Derek Chauvin. We talked about that, and that was a really good episode. I like that episode a lot. So, in that episode, we actually discussed generational curses slightly, and now that's what brought us to actually having this topic and this discussion here today. Before we jump into all of that, though, uh, Mason, how you doing?
I'm good, actually. Having a good day. Feeling good. Feeling great. No complaints on this side. How you doing, Lizzie?
I'm okay. I definitely had a day again today. That seems to have been the story of my life for a couple of weeks now.
I need you to get
But
that.
it's okay, because I'm okay. Miss Kori Deez, aka Lemon Squeeze. Oh, I like how
AKA.
When y'all see that on a rap album near you, y'all heard that new Lemon Squeeze track?
Lemon
Don't say you say
squeeze.
you heard it here first. Say you heard it here first. No, I'm just joking. I'm doing well. I was actually up pretty late for the past. My insomnia has been like at an all-time high, so I don't know what the fuck is going on, but
I'm still in the sleep because I've been sleeping good. I slept like a baby last night.
did you get the D?
I did not.
Oh, I just want to know. I only sleep good when I get the D. But anyway, that's too much for y'all to know.
Yo, we like 4 minutes in. Okay.
I mean,
Already.
want to keep that time down. We got our
Sheesh.
hint for our little bloopers.
Sheesh.
Okay, so I don't know. If we want to just jump right into this episode, or what? We want to talk about our event that's coming up soon, right? Let the viewers know that we're having some type of event.
First, Hush Your Mouth event. And
Mhm.
if you miss it, I don't know what to tell you.
If they miss it, don't do that. If they miss the one that we're
Don't
having,
miss it.
don't miss it. But if you
Don't
do
miss
miss
it.
the one that we're having on July 24th, we're having another one on August 8th. We will be announcing the details. It's August 8th.
Mm-mm. I'll just cut it off real quick. August 8th was a couple days before my birthday. Birthday gift. You know, I like
Yeah.
Turn up.
But so we're gonna be doing some giveaways, right? We're gonna be doing some raffles.
Hmm.
We're still kind of like organizing the event, but it's really gonna be dope and it's gonna be a lot of fun. You get to come and meet the cast, everybody's favorite. I say your girl's favorite, Mason, will be in the building in
I don't
person
say
May.
that.
But he
money. Why
doesn't like
y'all like
that.
this girl
Yo.
secret?
Now, but
Mason, I told you what I be getting in my inbox.
Yeah, my
It
mother
be
be on that
lit.
in
phone.
your inbox.
Oh,
Mason
he
is
should
so cute.
have put up in his own
Nah,
inbox.
don't do that.
No,
What is
Don't
listen,
do
his
that.
name?
Now, but for real, I'm really excited about this event. I'm super hyped about this. I think we're gonna have a great time. We're giving away some great stuff. Things that are curated by myself, things that are curated by Corey, things that are curated by Miss Deez over there. All right, so we're gonna do a whole bunch of different giveaways, and I think it'll be dope because I think I'm gonna put together a nice little package that we could raffle off different things, and I'm gonna put some cool stuff in there. I'm
and
gonna put some
everybody
cool
loves
stuff.
free shit. So come for the free
Exactly.
shit. We giving out some free food.
It ain't nothing crazy now.
But just come
It's
and
not
have a good
surf and
time
turf. It's not surf and turf.
and vibe with us and just have a good time. We're gonna even play games. Yeah, I got games.
That's been nice.
They're a little physical though.
Physical games.
Anyway,
Okay.
so
And we're thinking about doing a live show. We might even do a live show.
you might have a chance to do
That we're
all
working
that.
out. That we're working out. So that's also a possibility. So a lot of fun things are in store for you guys.
So save the date.
Save the date.
July 24th. It will be our first Hush Your Mouth
Cookout.
event. Yes, it's a cookout.
So today's episode is titled "The War Within the Black Community: The Generational Curse." So first we want to jump into what exactly is a generational curse. Lizzie Baybee.
Okay, so I did homework today, guys. I'm proud of myself. So I'm gonna read out the definition that I got off the internet, and then I have like something on that to it. So the definition I got was generational curse describes the overall effect on a person of things that their ancestors either did, believe, practice in the past, and consequences of those actions and beliefs and sins are then passed down to the next generation. Generational patterns into our lives through genes and by imitating our
Wait, I'm sorry. Are we talking about patterns or curses? Is this my answer or your answer? Oh no, this is not my answer.
Oh, okay. I'm just wondering. Now you're from your son just like
no, you said generational patterns. Go ahead, tell me.
I was saying generational patterns into our lives through genes and by imitating our parents. We notice the patterns. We read respective roles as a spouse, parent, or a professional boss. An example I saw on the internet was the general curse is a root beneath the surface that produces bad fruit above the surface.
I like that. Okay.
And
we got more.
Our family history and baggage impacts who we are as people.
Okay, we need to give Miss Lizzie Baybee a round of applause for doing her homework.
And I wanted to know. I just got work. I was at work doing my homework.
What kind of job we got?
Shout out to Group Out.
I'm gonna let you tell on yourself. Ooh.
It's okay.
She's
always like this.
Always incriminating herself. Oh my Lord. I feel like I have taught this girl nothing. But okay.
You taught me so much, I promise.
So I personally struggled with this question, and I know it's like a simple question, but I literally was up till 6 a.m. thinking about this question. Now, the good thing about where we are or Hush 'em Up is that this is a judgment-free zone, right? And there's not really any right or wrong answers or ideas. But as you guys already know, I'm a controversial at times, and I have different points of views because I have 7 different people inside of my body. Okay, let's get that out. So, as Miss Lizzie Baybee has said, I believe that, generational curses are ancestral sins, which, as she said, are sins that are passed down from generation to generation. But that's like the religious term of things, right? And in almost every religion, they speak on generational curses, which leaves me conflicted about this because in religions, they speak more about forgiveness and repentance and stuff like that. And depending on what part of the world you come from, a generational curse could be like karma and things like of that nature. So it still led me, after doing all of that research and looking at all of those things, it still led me to like, well, what the hell is a generational curse, right? So I had to dig a little deeper, and I decided to break the words down. And I said, well, what does curse mean? And curse means great harm or misfortune, right? Evil or misfortune that comes as if in a response to imprecation and retribution. Okay, so this definition simplified for me why I grew up hearing mostly in my community and church about generational curses, because that's where I initially heard it at. And in many communities, but especially the Black community, the type of generational curses that we see are poverty, divorce, abuse, lack of financial literacy, security, addiction, and education. However, I don't personally believe in generational curses. And I believe that it's a mind frame. I believe that generational curses are things that are beyond our control. something that is completely interchangeable, such as genetics and DNA, right? So an example of this would be if you have a family member with mental illness or sickness, right? That's something that's in your DNA, something that most likely couldn't have, you had no control over. So I believe that like maybe like being born in a third world country to an extent, depending on which country, like the countries especially that have famine, could be like kind of like a generational curse. I think incest is a generational curse. I do. I think it's a generational curse.
What concept is that? Hold on, let me write that down, Mason.
Listen to me though. Listen, hear me out, guys. I told you I probably wasn't going like where I was going with this.
Incest, though? Like generational curse?
Yes.
You passing that down.
If your dad, okay, so not your dad. I'm not gonna say your dad. If a person's dad sleeps with the daughter is more likely, if she's not educated that this was wrong, to sleep with like her sibling or whatever. I saw flowers in the attic. I'm just saying that incest in itself, incest is usually something that runs down from family member to family member for generations to come. I mean, I would think so, right? And that also goes into like molestation. Molestation can be a generational curse, but we could get there when we get there. But I ain't there yet. All right. So the generational curses that I mentioned are within our community. I feel as though are all crutches that are being used today. While I understand that for years we were limited and that slavery and things like that has caused us to have like poverty and lack of financial literacy or security, I just don't think that I won't act like we don't have the same opportunities now. Like what happened to our people before, I don't feel like necessarily affects us today. Does that make sense? I know that it does, but it doesn't. Not when it comes to a generational curse. I feel like we have the same opportunities. We just have to work hard for it. So like that's generational wealth. That is the same as generational wealth, family structures, education, stability are yes easier to come by for a Caucasian person. However, I just feel like a generational curse is a stigma, and I believe more in generational healing. We have to heal the mistakes and the traumas of the people who walked before us. So that was my answer. I know it got crazy. I said a lot. But Mason, go ahead. Shoot.
All right. Yeah, you did say a lot. That was a lot to
Did you like what I said though?
No. I don't agree with you at all. So I mean, like there's parts that I'll pick out that I'm gonna say make sense, but there's parts that are just like, what? Like that incest part, we gotta talk about that.
No. I see where she's coming from a little bit with that, but go ahead, Lisa.
All right. So with my definition, I think generational curses are just the situation that you're born in, and it's just what's passed down from generation to generation. So the information that's passed down from generation to generation could be a curse, which is positive and negative. I did not look it up to get my definition. I'm just going by what I know in the terms and how I've used it in the past. So generational curses for me is just basically the information and the situation that you're put into. If you're black, you do have some of those stigmas that you have to overcome. Your journey is different than if you're white. Those stigmas aren't the same for you, and the obstacles you have to overcome is totally different than if you're Asian, and et cetera, et cetera. So race does play a role in how successful you are and how quickly you get to that finish line. So we're all starting from different points in the race. So generational curses do have an effect on you, and I think that, I look at it from a socioeconomic version, but you could look at it in 10 different ways.
Right. And that's why I gave y'all 10 different answers.
But they were wrong.
Whoa. Here on
Nobody.
You said it were wrong.
All right. I disagree with some of those answers.
I don't think.
I'll put it like
What do you disagree with?
I disagree that incest is a generational curse.
Okay, so
I think that incest is something wrong. Obviously, I think that incest isn't something that it may be a family secret. Do you think family secrets are the same thing as generational curses?
Family secrets can be a generational curse, though. And also the product, like, so let's say two family members decide to get together and have a baby, then what happens to that baby? That baby is now cursed. That is a generational curse. That is something that is interchangeable between your DNA. You cannot control the fact that now that you slept with your cousin.
But I think that's the part that I don't agree with, that a general curse is just different.
A generational curse can be genetic.
I said I don't believe
it's like a mental. Genetic. It's mental illness. It's sickness. No, I'm not saying that that's where it ends. I'm just saying it's things that you cannot. It's beyond your control. That's my opinion. Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't. The way I grew up hearing about what a generational curse is from church and from different family members or different people that I've interacted with, I just feel like that's not for real. I feel like those are crutches within our community, especially.
That's part of the curse, though. That's how I feel.
No.
Yes.
Because
everybody has a generational curse is something that continues on in generations. So if they're using it as a crutch, they've been using it as a crutch for how long now? How long has slavery been a crutch in this society?
A very long time.
That's a generational curse. I'm being dead serious, though. A lot of I'm not saying it's irrelevant, but what I'm saying is that's going along with what she's saying as certain things as being a crutch. A lot of people, of course we feel strongly about slavery, but they definitely, not everybody, but some people use that as because my ancestors from 400 years ago were slaves, this is why I can't do this today, and I could never do this. I think that it can be a mental thing, but I still feel like
I think that there's something called slave mentality, and that itself is the generational curse. It's a mind frame, though. I know, Mason, I fucked you up because you're sitting there, you look like you're frozen on my screen. You're trying to make sense of all of this. You can't believe what the hell's coming out of my mouth. I know. What you do?
All right. So I'm really listening to get your point of view, because that's the whole point of this whole show, to get different point of views. So I'm listening to get your point of view, and I'm really trying to understand why and how you get to these conclusions. So that's why I was being quiet. And some of those conclusions are interesting conclusions. But slavery being a crutch, I definitely don't agree with that. I think slavery is a reason. I could point to several different things that has happened to push. If we're going to talk about black people, our community has caused our community to not be as advanced socially, economically as other communities, because slavery took a chunk of time where everybody else was developing, where everybody else was gaining wealth, where everybody else was gaining knowledge, and it took that away from us as people. So we didn't have that 400 years of evolution that other people did. We were still stuck in the same mind frame, in the same set, in the same exact place. So if you took anybody and I take you and I put you in the exact same place, and then I'm telling you, go find your way around Pennsylvania, you'd be like, wait a minute, I don't know how to find my way around Pennsylvania. I've only been in this same house for the last 10 years or the last however amount of time. So it's kind of hard for you to find your way around when you've never explored. While if I took Lizzie and did the same thing, except Lizzie was able to explore the world, explore Pennsylvania. And I'm like, Lizzie, all right, go find someplace. Go find the nearest Piggly Wiggly or whatever y'all have down there. And Lizzie goes out and she finds it. I don't know what y'all have down there. I live in New York. So now Lizzie's going to be able to go find it right away, right? And that's what it is with black people. We have the disadvantage of not being as developed and having those 400 years of economic freedom, of learning how to manage our money and things like that, and bringing that into the household, where other communities have had that responsibilities, have had that freedom for 400 years. Now, me telling you why does not make an excuse. It's the truth. It's fact. If I don't acknowledge that ever happened to me or happened to my people, I'm lost.
Yes, we know where we have been, but now it's the curse. Okay, so all curses can be broken, right?
Yes.
The, the, the curse is broken to an extent. I think. I feel. Let me make it so that y'all can't say that I'm fucking wrong. I feel as though the curse is broken to an extent. While yes, we still battle with a lot of things, the 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 I don't know if stagnation is even a word. I would like to look it up, but being stagnant is no longer a thing. We have the same opportunities that other communities have now. We do, for the most part. There's a lot of different things out here where when your ancestors were enslaved 400 years ago, we're not facing those type of things. We have. I will say though, I wrote this quote down because I thought it was really like an interesting quote.
Because I rebut that statement right there. I'll show you.
Basically, it's like, this is the mic, right? Everybody can get this mic, right? For other
Don't
races,
touch the mic like that.
sorry, so other races, other races, the mic on the table. For the black community, you got to climb to the third shelf.
So I read a quote and it was interesting to me, and I do agree with it. It says each time we learn to play the game, the roles change, right? Or the game changes, the rules change, change. And I think that that's true. But because I'm educated enough to know that that is the truth, I should be willing to work harder, smarter. Does that make sense?
No.
Nathan, you want to tell me that I don't fucking
No, I'm listening. You see, I'm not interrupting. I'm listening to you. I'm waiting for you to make your point. I'm not interrupting. Go ahead.
No, that's what I'm saying though. Let's go into the next question.
No. I don't want to justify the mindset of we have to work harder. It's true. I know that. But I'm just saying, like, we have to work harder isn't what I'm disagreeing with you about. Like, that's definitely not that's actually a big part of my point. So I'm not disagreeing with you as far as that's concerned. So what I wanted you to come back to was, how is, like, the incest part, how does that play?
Oh my God, why was the incest part?
That blew my mind. That example just blows my mind. So I agree, and you agree that we as a people have to work twice as hard, right? Is that correct? Now, my biggest point is that because our mothers and fathers didn't have the same knowledge that we're gaining right now, right? It's hard for that generation to teach this generation, and that's the breaking of the curse. So that's the part that I agree with, right? So that's the breaking of the curse. But I have to find that information, right? Now, Billy, another community, he doesn't have to go out of his way to find that. So we're on the same page as talking about it's not as readily available.
Well, I wanna clarify some things that you just said. That wasn't my experience. And so my great grandparents were born around 1913 or so. And for them to have been born during that time, things were like, I grew up different. Like, my grandparents owned a brownstone in New York for my whole life. You understand? My grandparents owned businesses for my whole life. My great grandparents owned a business. They were the first Black people to open their business within their town and their community for my whole life, right? So growing up, I always heard a different message than most people hear. And that's where educating your youth and your offspring come into play, right? That's very important. I always was brought up like, oh, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a nurse, you're going to be a lawyer, a teacher, or something like that. Now, am I any of those things? Absolutely not. But the message was there. A standard of living was there. They weren't sitting there just basically like, oh, we was enslaved. My great great grandparents were enslaved at one point, and that this is where we are. No, it was always up from here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like, no, it's a mind frame. Now, do we have traumas within my family and dysfunction? Absolutely. Where did that come from? We'll get there in this conversation, but I don't know. So that's what molds my way of thinking when it comes to generational curses. And the fact that it's mostly like when you look up generational curses on the internet, it basically only thing you can really find about it is from a religious standpoint. Really, honestly and truly. So it makes me think that, first of all, if we want to have a conversation about the Bible one day, that's a really political time for the show, but I don't want to do it. But if that's implemented by religion into our society, now, if we talk about how religion has impacted our people, that's another conversation. So my views are conflicted, which is what I said from the beginning. I was conflicted about this conversation till 6 o'clock in the morning and how I was going to answer it, because I don't want to just give the basic like, oh, it's ancestral sin from your generations. No, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to just use Google and go, because I feel differently about it. So I'm sorry, y'all.
No, I mean, I don't disagree with a lot of what you're saying. I'm looking at it from a holistic perspective. I'm not just looking at it from my perspective. So I'm definitely giving you my perspective. But then I feel like there's a lot of the community that isn't as fortunate as you, that didn't have parents that were as learned as you. There's people down south that didn't have the opportunity to buy a place way later than, the 30s or the 40s or the 60s. We were fighting for civil rights in the 60s, so we couldn't vote.
My grandparents owned a whole home and businesses in that time.
But I'm saying in the South, it wasn't like that. So
I know
why you could speak for yourself. Like, there's a very large demographic of people that are nothing like that. So granted, some of us starting the race a little bit ahead of others, but there's a lot.
Different benefits. They give you different benefits than other people.
I think, and you understand generational curses differently, because I feel like the way you're understanding it and the way you interpret it is not how everybody else does.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure there's people who definitely identify and can understand where you're coming from, because they have also probably been in family that was similar to.
I think it's just a big difference between generational curses and generational choices. In a nutshell. But that's another question down the line. So are we jumping into the first question?
Let's go right on it. What's the personal impact?
Okay, so the first question is, how can you as an individual help break generational curses within our community or within your immediate family itself? And so as I mentioned, on Google, the top 5 generational curses were poverty, education, finances. What was the other ones I missed? Abuse and divorce. Those are the 5 generational curses from Google that I found. Okay. Oh no, I wasn't answering. I was just saying. I was reiterating. I was reiterating what I was saying.
So basically, my answer is, first we have to recognize the general curse that's within your family or situation. I feel like everybody's situation, everybody's family is different. How you were raised is different. What you dealt with or experienced is different. So it starts with identifying what the generational curse it is that you personally are dealing with. So I did see something on the internet today that said something about a genogram of how you find out what your generational curses are within your family.
Look at this. Hold on, Mason. Get right around.
She
said genogram.
It's called a genogram. That's how you find out. So basically, what you do is your family tree. You start with like your great grandparents and your grandparents and your parents and you and your siblings, and if you have kids or whatever the case may be. there was a whole list of questions you asked, like where was this person born? What type of work did they have? What was their income? Was there abuse? Was there alcoholism? It just was mad different questions that you would sit with your family tree and you would answer them as to the best of your knowledge. Once you do that, because this is going to be uncomfortable, once you do that, you want to have conversations. Find a parent, a grandparent. It's usually the grandparents because the grandparents be giving the juice. So call your grandma, call your grandpa, whatever, or maybe a cousin that's a little older than you, and start asking these questions. And once you start asking these questions and you start going through your family tree, you start seeing the patterns. Now you have officially identified the general curse within your family. So how does these curses directly affect you? They affect you because as a child, we reciprocate what our parents do. We reciprocate what our aunts do. Whatever adult figure is in your life or around you as a child, you imitate it. So whatever you find out about your family, if you didn't already know, especially as an adult, you start finding out all the things that you didn't know as a child. And you basically figured it out, you discovered the patterns. And as a person, we have to know exactly what it is that we want for ourselves, what it is exactly we want for our children if we have children. So you don't want to carry on the baggage because that's basically what it is. It's a suitcase that you just keep passing on down. A pair of shoes. My mother had these shoes. My grandma had these shoes. My auntie had these shoes. And now guess who got the goddamn shoes? I got the shoes. Do I want to wear them or do I want to throw them bitches in the trash? I want to throw the shoes in the garbage. Throw them out. So the best way to deal with generational curses within your own family is to heal from them and let them bitches go.
But that's why I said that I believe in, that's so funny. When you said that, it was 333 on the clock. 33. So just to let's say, whatever.
Yeah.
Angel numbers.
That's why I said I believe in generational healing and not generational curses.
But the thing about generational healing is that people don't want to ever acknowledge the curse. So what am I healing from? If we don't talk about it, most Black families don't talk about nothing. Mm-hmm. If something happened to you as a child, it's never a conversation. We're going to sit at Thanksgiving dinner and you're going to eat with that motherfucker that touched you when you was 3. And we're going to act like it never happened. Or whatever. If I beat you up as a kid, as your aunt, cousin, or whatever, you're going to sit at this dinner table and you're going to eat dinner with me like it never happened. That is the problem. That is one of the generational curses.
Within the
Black community is acting like it didn't happen. It happened. Acknowledge it and heal from it. If you don't acknowledge it, you can't heal from it. And now guess what? Whatever baggage you're holding on to, you're passing it to the next child. And that child's going to grow up with that baggage and pass it on to that child. And then, and so on and so forth.
So just to piggyback on what Miss Lizzie Baybee said, I do agree with her. I definitely think that it's important to basically like teach your kids what you didn't learn. Sometimes you need to unlearn some things that may have been passed down to you. Acknowledge your traumas, because the only way that you can overcome trauma is to acknowledge them and then work on them, right? And work on how to be a better person in itself. The question in itself, did I like really answer it? Like I answered everything in my first answer, but
she answered the whole episode. That's what he was like, okay.
But so as an individual, me personally, how I can. Okay, yeah. Me personally, because even though I had a really good like outward family structure growing up, inwardly it wasn't, right? So one, I want to say like my morals and my values came from like life lessons in different families that I have lived with who also taught me things. But that's how I learned how to break my generational curse, because I changed the generational way of thinking. Because remember, I said, even though I came from a well-off family, initially there's a dysfunction. So I did what Lizzie Baybee said, is I threw fucking shit away. And I bought myself my own damn shoes, and I learned my own way. So I think that I know that. Well, me and Side Panel had a conversation about this, and this episode, and I know it's very hard to have me stumped, but this episode had me really conflicted because I was trying to figure out if my family was well off, where did the generational curse begin? If you can start or end, like as well as you can end your own generational curses, can you start your own generational curses? And I was trying to figure out if my mom started a generational curse, or she could have, but it didn't go on for generations after generations. It stopped with me. Although my life could have went into a different, like a completely different way, especially because I grew up in the foster care system. So it's like being a product of that. Most of the time, you don't turn out the way I turned out. Your successes are not as, I want to say great, because I feel like I came a motherfucking long way, right? I shouldn't be on paper. I shouldn't be where I am today. And my children would have been products of that. So now that would have been a generational curse. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I feel like I am the vessel. I stop the generation. You can't say the same.
No, I know that I definitely carry on a lot from what I've experienced. So I'm still working on trying to break the generational curse within my family.
And that's big of you for you to be able to sit here and
always acknowledge who I am, and I really don't care how anybody in this world looks at me, because I know I'm a work in progress, just like whoever's watching this is.
Right.
And I know I have things that I need to work on, and I know that there's a lot of things. It's kind of hard to unshape the shape. When you're a parent, you shape your kids into what you want them to be, and your kids are products of you and what they experience while they're with you. So as an adult, when you start acknowledging the wrongs, I don't feel like you acknowledge that you was brought up wrong until you have kids. Because when you have your own children, you start to see, oh my God, I don't want that for my child. I don't want my child to experience this. I don't want my child to experience that. So I feel like the type of parents you have shape the type of parent that you are.
I believe that to an extent, but not fully.
Let me finish.
I know. I believe
that the type of parents you have, because it's like being a mom. You have a mom, so I know in my mind how to be a mom because my mom was a mom to me. So let me be the mom that I know, because that's the mom that I saw. But sometimes the mom that you had wasn't the best mom. Mm-hmm. So it gets to the point where you're like, hold on, pause. Because there's nobody in the world you love more than your kids. So you stop and you ask yourself, like, wait, does this look right? You have other friends who have kids, and I've admitted this on this live, that I've learned a lot from my friends who have kids. We all parent different. So even being open to learning how to be a parent is a step in the right direction as far as breaking generational curses. Because again, people come from different backgrounds. People are raised differently, and they saw different things. So yeah, I definitely feel like there are some generational curses that I am still working on. And all I can do is say I'm a work in progress, and my kids, they know that everything I do and say comes from a loving place. So yeah.
It does, but you're also human. So, I mean, you're not going to get everything right, especially with parenting. Exactly. No one gets everything right. And what happens is we just try not to fuck up too much. So at the end of the day, you're going to fuck up. Like, something's going to happen. Like, you just try not to fuck up too much. And you do learn from your parents. It goes both ways. You learn, hey, that was great. That was not great. Like, that was something that I would do, and that's something that I would never do. People go to the extreme sometimes where, their mother used to spank them as a kid, and they're like, I will never spank my child, and then they go,
oh my God, to the extreme. That was me. Too. I was growing up, and I was just basically like, yeah, no, I will never say to my kids because I fucking said so. Like, no, you need to explain to your kids. I was.
But you learned, and that's the way.
I don't like that.
You decided to raise your child.
You want to know what's hilarious though about parenting, Mason?
What's hilarious?
I talk to my mom all the time. And I be telling her the crazy things my kids be doing. And I'm like, yep, I'll whip her ass, beat her ass.
And she be like,
and my mother be like, don't be hitting on my grandkids. And da da da. You better not touch them.
That's a whole different point
I'm
of view.
like, but you tried to kill me though.
You
tried to beat the hell out me. You beat the hell out me. She hit me with the, but did you die though?
Oh.
I was like, well, they ain't gonna die. So
only in the inside. Only in
no,
them.
but you ever notice that how you parent, if you have multiple kids, if you have an older one, a middle one, and a younger one, you parent them all totally different. I feel like the first kid, you're trying to be the best parent out the gate, doing all kinds of shit. By the time you get to the last one, it's like, yo, do whatever you're doing. Just don't break nothing. Just don't break nothing.
It was so different with my kids. They're 9 years apart, Mason. My kids are 9 years apart. Okay, I remember
totally different.
Totally different. I have to be two different type of parents with both of them. But people say I favor my youngest. I don't think I favor my youngest. I think I have more patience for her. When I had Janaya, I was young. She's looking at me because she's one of the people. I had her. I was young. We have pictures of me somewhere. Shout outs to my family for always taking pictures of me. There's a picture of me somewhere with me holding Janaya. I was probably like 19. She was crying and I was crying. We was crying together because I didn't know what to do with the goddamn baby. I was like, what in the hell? But I was young and I didn't know no better. And having my youngest, I was 29, so I had way more patience. I planned her
exactly what to do.
A whole different situation. So that's But
that's very normal. That happens all the time.
Is that a generational
curse? I don't know.
No, that's just parenting. I think that's parenting because
I mean, to an extent.
I think
that there's an emotional aspect to generational curses that
absolutely
that you can also say that kind of falls into.
I think that again, it always goes back to you can only do what you know. How can you do something? So as you grow, right, and as you mature, you learn different things that are necessary for your journey in life and for your healing. To heal those things.
But that's where the experience plays. That's where the experience plays a part, where you get different experiences. Like if our experiences are exactly the same and I did it a year before you, I can tell you how that is. When you're in college and you're like, hey, I've got this, this English professor. Have you ever had him? And I can tell you, yeah, I've had him, and this is what he does. This is what the syllabus looks like. This is what the breakdown looks like. But
give me the answers, Mason.
I can give you the answers. I can tell you what to expect, right? But if you have nobody that's ever been through a situation, you've got to figure it out. So you don't know who that teacher is. Nobody's going to tell you how it is. So you got to go through it, right? So it's different,
right?
That's the experience part. That's where we're going through these things on our own.
Well, so is that your answer for how can you as an individual break curses within our community or within your immediate family yourself?
No, I mean, a lot of what Lizzie said was basically what my answer is. I just broke it down into the physical, the emotional, and like the mental. And I think that mental and emotional are different. I think that the physical is different. I think that the areas that you said were generational curses on Google, I 100% agree with that. I think like all those things are generational curses. The way you see things are things.
Well, let me tell you.
Tell me.
Let me tell you something, Lisa.
Tell me about those 5 things you saw.
So like divorce, and me and Fat Panel had this conversation as well. Because she comes from a family where like almost everybody's married for the last couple of generations, right? Like everybody. And I come from a family where, although my grandmother and my grandfather were together my whole entire life, and my mom's whole entire life, they wasn't married, right?
That's the
he had a whole another wife, first wife, kids, everything. I didn't find the stuff out until I was maybe like 12 or so, and I didn't see my mom get married. My uncle's not married. A lot of my aunts and stuff like that are not married. People I grew up around, that were my parental figures were not married. So I didn't find marriage to be important to me. Like if you met me when I was like 20, 21 and on. 19, 17, you know how some girls, they dream of like a marriage. I was like, what? I don't want to be married. I don't need to be nobody's wife. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm older now, and I understand the importance of having the family dynamic. I also was that woman. I'm very similar to my mother. Let's just say that. We are like two fucking rocks rubbing together, okay?
I've never heard that term before. Two fucking rocks rubbing. That's a new one.
Are we two rocks rubbing together?
They two rocks rubbing together, but guess what? It's a fire.
That's what I would think. Okay. We're on the same page, Lizzie.
So it's like, but we're like that because we're similar, but her way of thinking and her beliefs and the way, I don't know, the way she sees the world is way different than I see the world and what my beliefs are now. That's because of the generational curse, right? Because my mama is like, the white man, she's like, I hate the white man, this, that, the third, he did it, he's the reason why this ain't work out. The white man is to blame for everything. And I'd be like, girl, where's your accountability? She's like, what? You know, like, you need to have accountability. The white man does not control who you are or what you're doing today. You had ample time to do so. So I say all of that to say, like, my examples that were set before me has definitely did shape who I was probably going to become. But because I was fortunate enough to be able to like educate myself a little bit, that I don't see it the way that they seen it.
But I think you do to a certain degree, to a certain point. I think that all of us do. I think that when you grow up like you grew up and like I grew up or whatever the case may be, it affects us in our relationships. And I think personally the reason why it affects
that, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I think the reason why it affects us in our relationships is just basically because the people, like side panel, will be more likely to try to work things out where you may be like, it's over, it's finished, it's done, I'm out. Because that's a little bit more acceptable for you. Where side panel, all she's seen is that connectivity, that working shit out, and stuff like that. So that's more likely where she would be. And that part of you is behind. That's in the back of your head. That's subconscious. That's not in your consciousness. So you wouldn't even think about it as that's a generational curse or that's something that I've seen that's impacted me that, you know, my mother had to deal with and then her mother had to deal with. And that's one of those curses that, you know, go under the radar. And that's the mental, you know, situation. And you can survive and be successful and do all those things, but you still, you know, have to deal with that, or you still may never deal with it, actually.
Right.
So that's the part of it.
So there's a mental part of generational curse.
And I think there's also an emotional part, like how you love.
How you love, definitely.
How you love is a part of that as well. I think how you grew up.
How you love stems from how you were loved.
Exactly. So I think that's also a generational curse. And then the physical part, you know, we went into DNAs and everything that Lizzie talked about, you know, finding out if there's sickness in your family and things like that. All that stuff can actually go into the physical bucket.
When I read that today, y'all, I said, do I really want to do this? And I think that's the problem. Nobody wants to really know. So it's like, how can you break a curse when you don't want to even figure out what the curse is that you're dealing with?
I'm a little mad at Miss Lizzie Baybee that she didn't tell me that she learned about genotypes today. Because before we started this episode, I would have sat her ass down and we would have did our genotype together. And would have brought it to her show today.
I would not have brought my genogram to Hush Mouth.
Oh, genogram.
It's a genogram.
Oh, genogram.
Yeah, I would not have brought it to Hush Mouth because I know the curses that are in my family. And I don't really want to put them on blast right now. Maybe one day, but not today.
So I know what question is missing. I know what question that y'all messed up on that. I know what it is. I am. So the second question is, what is the difference between generational curses and poor choices? So again, this goes back to what I was saying about my mom, because she didn't grow up from a bunch of generational curses, right? as I said, like I think my mom was fucking privileged as fuck for her to be a black woman in the 1960s. She talking about she shot that bird off Goodman and all that other shit. You was not deprived, okay, honey? Like, so, but I think that because she didn't struggle the way other people in our communities may have been struggling, she made very poor choices. And unfortunately, I am like a product of those poor choices. Now, I spoke about addiction, right? And abuse and things like that being a part of generational curses. And addiction runs heavy in my family, but that's the reason why, first of all, for the people out there who think that I'm drunk, I am. No, I'm not. Not that.
All right.
Yo, I want to say though, Miss Kori Deez is sober today.
I'm sober today.
Drinking water.
Don't be coming from my heart.
But I don't participate in like drugs for real. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, some people do drugs, and that's okay for you. If that's your choice, then that's your choice. And I don't fault you for it. But me personally, that's not my thing. Why is it not my thing? Because I come from 2 drug addicted parents. So I know the effects that could have on me, and then the effects that could have on my children. So I'm very vocal about those things. I do everything within, what you call it? Go ahead, make this the word. Discretion. Is that the word? That's not discretion. That's not the word that the spirit is telling me in my ear. No, I'm just joking, y'all. But
I can't think of the word myself right now.
Okay, well,
it's right on the tip of my tongue.
So for me,
moderation.
Moderation. That's the word that I was looking for. Everything within moderation. So even when I'm like drinking or hanging out or partying, because my addictive trait, it goes far beyond alcoholism and doing drugs. It does. I'm addicted to a vibe. Like if I party, I can party for days. No, this is for real. No, listen to me. When I go into party mode, I'm in party mode for several days. That is the worst thing ever. Like, because I don't have any control over it. I think that that's fucking a generational curse. Do you hear me?
Do you think you have an addictive personality?
I have an addictive trait. Yes, I have an addictive personality.
No, personality. Okay. That makes sense because that's the type of person that would be. You got to know yourself, and knowing yourself means I won't try that because I know that if I try that, it will spiral out of control. There's some people that are avid drug users. They use everything. They're not sticking to one thing. It ain't just the coke. It's the pills. It's the coke. It's the lean. It's the Molly. It's whatever's popping. They're with it. And they have, it's the high. Whatever high it is, they know the difference between highs. It's like, this is, coke high. No, this is Molly high. And this is, mushroom highs or whatever the case may be. Exactly. So, I mean, there are people that know themselves enough to know that, you know what, I'm going to stay away from all of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew very young because I used to say that my mom and my aunts used to, my adopted mom, let me clarify, and my aunts used to say, you are addicted to money. And I used to be like, I'm addicted to money. That's not a bad thing. But it can be. Because that means that you're willing to do anything and everything to be able to get to $1. And when they said that to me, it made me look into it a little bit deeper, especially because my mom is like a drug and alcohol counselor. So she pointed out to me before I went out into the real world, hey, so she educated me. You have an addictive personality, an addictive trait. You have this because of X, Y, and Z. That led me in my life to be able to say no to everything that I know I can't control. I wouldn't be able to control. So, I don't know. Why you look like that? Are you sad for me?
I'm not sad for you.
I'm sad for you.
I feel like even though, your circumstances were whatever they were, I feel like you are
Oh no, yeah, I'm working on myself a lot.
It's still the best thing you can do. As far as this question goes, though, I did have that a generational curse is a habit or an ongoing cycle. And a poor choice is something a little more like right now. So I had a conversation with one of my supervisors today because, I always take hush your mouth to work. And the example that he gave me was diabetes. Now, I really hope I explained this the way that he explained it to me.
If you don't, I can help you because me and Zion had a conversation about this.
That's crazy. So he told me that diabetes, like, how people be like, oh, diabetes runs in my family? So allegedly, diabetes would be the generational curse, right? He basically said, no, diabetes is just somewhat of a choice, for real. The eating habit is the generational curse because you're eating all that shit and drinking all that shit, and now the choice was diabetes. So when he explained it to me, I was just like, oh shit. It just was like a clicking in my head because I was trying to understand what the difference was. And Google was my friend. So I always Google shit, but Google don't know how to explain shit for me to understand because I went to public school. So my brain works a little different. But when he explained that to me, it just made so much sense to me. I was just like, I'm putting this on Hush Your Mouth today.
So it's funny that you, so we're going to let you get in there, but it's funny that she even...
like, Mason needs a shirt that says, pause.
Like, that's the thing for your fucking Hush Your Mouth shirt. People, comment in the comments if you want Mason's shirt. Let's talk about
Don't comment about that. Continue.
Comment if you wanted to say girl's favorite Mason, or you want us to say your favorite Mason, or if you wanted to say pause Team Mason, let us know so we can get those shirts together.
My shirt on the baby.
Maybe later at the end of the episode, we'll talk about our shirts and we can get some input.
Yeah, we want some input from you guys.
What y'all gotta say.
We want to know what kind of Hush Your Mouth shirts you guys want to be out there, especially for our event. But me and Side Panel had this conversation, and it was really funny because so diabetes runs in my family, right? And I was having a child with a man whose dad had diabetes. So and it runs in my family for boys, especially. So I'm talking about generations now. We're talking about 3 generations of people who have diabetes. My brother had got it at 9 months old. He didn't have any control of his eating at 9 months old, because what the fuck are you eating? You eating Similac, right? Or breast milk, whatever your choice is. So I was like, he didn't have a choice in that matter. It was that the curse. And Side Panel believes that diabetes is of a generational curse, correct? Is that what you said? Yes.
Yes, but it can be.
No. That was it. Yes. So I said, no, because you can prevent diabetes by your eating habits. So I have a son. He wasn't born with diabetes. Side Panel and him always have a conversation and about the fact that he likes sugar. Jasir, you keep eating that sugar, you're going to end up with diabetes. Now, diabetes type 1 and diabetes type 2, 2 different types of diabetes. One is a curse.
One you're born with, and 2 you get.
You have control over if you get type 1.
No, you have control over if you get type 2. You don't have control over if you get type 1.
You got control if you get type 2 diabetes, because it's based on what you eat and your diet.
What you put in your body.
So now my son was blessed to not have diabetes being born, especially when he comes from a side of the family that has it, both sides. He's at risk. Now that made me sit there and say, well, damn, Kori, you need to be better, because you just be letting him eat that sugar, you be letting him eat that syrup and shit, and you know the risk that could happen to him later. It's a choice, right? Even though I'm telling you about it, but me as your parent, I should be a better parent and say,
you shouldn't eat this.
No, you ain't eating this. No, he eats vegetables. My kids eat vegetables every day. I'm just... But yeah, so basically, yes, I agree with what your supervisor said.
Shout out to you.
Mason.
I mean, I think that I agree with both of you guys. I think that there is a big difference between a generational curse and poor choices. And the differences are basically what you guys said. I think that generational curse happens to you. It's what's in your bloodline. And I think that diabetes thing is a great example. So type 1 diabetes would be your, generational curse. Type 2 diabetes would be your choice. So if you know that you have this in your bloodline, like I broke it down to the three, the physical, the emotional, that's the physical part of it. So physically, you have this in your bloodline and this is a possibility for you. It's not a guarantee, but you know that it's a high possibility. So now knowing this, you act accordingly. So you change your diet, you make sure that you consider this when you're eating. You're eating things in its own portion or whatever the case may be. And you keep that in mind. So not much more to add to that one.
Right.
Yep.
You don't have an emotional one or anything? No.
Emotional one?
Emotional, or generational curse or poor choices. The fact of, like, if things are going on in your family and you decide to still keep the family secrets, so somebody got to let that shit out the motherfucking bag in order for it to be fixed. The trauma needs to be healed by letting it out. That's the emotional part.
Keeping it a secret is the curse.
Yep.
Not telling is the choice.
I think it happening is the curse. What you do with knowing.
Also the curse, because that has been carried on in so many black generations. Maybe I'm acting like I feel keeping a secret is acting like it didn't happen.
Yeah,
acting
that's your
like
choice.
It didn't happen is a choice, but also a curse. Because you're taught to keep stuff in the house. That's a black thing.
That's a black
What
thing.
happens in that house stays in that house. That's a generational curse.
Mm-hmm. I think I think that once you are of the age and you know the difference between right and wrong, choosing, it's a very brave thing to do. Choosing to actually confront those things, it takes a lot of courage, and making that choice is a very hard choice. But I think you don't have a control over what happened to you physically, or you know what I'm saying, or whatever it was emotionally, whatever curse there was, but you have a choice in how you react to it. It's like, 90% of life is how you react to things, 10% is what happens to you. So 10% is the generational curse, and then the 90% is how you react to that generational curse. So that stems into the emotional part of it. I think that how you react to it is your choice. Like, you always have a choice in how you react to it. Now, it happened. You may not have even been there for it. It may have been 2 decades ago. It may be in your uncle and your aunt. But you saying, I'm going to confront my uncle because he did something to my aunt that wasn't right, and she's uncomfortable every time he's around. So I'm going to let him know that this is wrong, and I'm going to have that conversation.
Exactly. I really feel like of all the generational curses in the black community, I really want to stop pushing shit under the rug and acting like it didn't happen. People do not understand how that shit affects you in your life. And I am speaking from somebody who deals with this on a day-to-day basis. There has been things that have happened to me in my life that I still deal with at 32 years old. And we do not talk about them. I am forced to still be in the room with people that make me uncomfortable. And part of the generational curse is I'm going to always respect my mother. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to hold it down. But in the long run, it's not beneficial to me as a person. I need therapy. I need to sit and talk to somebody because I am 32 years old and there are things I have not healed from that have happened to me as a child. But because in the black family, we're not allowed to talk about these things, you're forced to just be okay. I really, really want that to stop. I really do. Anybody listening to this, I'm telling you, as a parent, as a mother with daughters,
as a friend,
as a sister, as a cousin, as a whatever, a niece, whatever I am to you. And if I ain't something to you, I hope I'm something to you now. But yes, listen to your kids. Acknowledge what they're saying to you.
Know that your kids have feelings and that they have opinions.
That's something I've learned, but that was a generational curse that I carried on because I never had an opinion in my household. My mother and my father, or my stepfather, or whatever we're going to call him at this moment, they were the ones who ran the household. They worked, they fed us, they clothed us, they gave us what we needed. We got whatever it was we were supposed to receive as children. Because as a parent, you have to provide for your kids. So they provided for us. Because they were the providers and we were the receivers, what opinion did we have? Whatever was cooked for dinner is what you was eating. I didn't ask you what you wanted. Oh, you don't want to eat? go to bed. That's something that carried on from my childhood to me being a parent, because I didn't believe kids had opinions. If I cook, you eat what I made. If you're not hungry and you don't want to eat what I made, you eat nothing, because that's what I know. That's what I learned. That's what I was taught. That is the shape that we have to unshape.
So I believe that there are still things that we have learned and taught, and that you can still impart. So some of those things I don't
with moderation. With moderation.
Depends on the thing. With certain things, you do it 100%. I think please and thank you or something that moderation to that.
Really?
I don't think that's an example. I'm giving you an example.
These little badass kids these days.
Exactly. Well, my point is that's something that was taught to me that I'm going to 100% pass on to my kids, and I think that should 100% be passed on, because that's something that should happen. So for me, there's things that I have taught and learned that 100% will be passed on, and then there's things, to Lizzie's point, that needs to change. And as you get older, you learn the difference between right or wrong, or you find a better way to do things, and you do them a better way. He who knows better does better.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
But you have to be open to do better. And that, I think, another thing is that people are so comfortable with certain things. Like, you're just comfortable. The comfortability has to stop overall in every aspect of our lives. Comfortability has to stop. If you're comfortable in something, you don't want to change it. You can't change something that you're comfortable with.
Well, that's like, you can't know something is like actually wrong unless you're exposed to the fact that it's wrong. Like, or do you guys think that?
I feel like you know something is wrong whether you're exposed to the fact that it's wrong or not. It's whether you choose to acknowledge the wrong or whatever it is.
No, I don't.
That's my opinion.
I'm sorry. Welcome, Hush Mouth.
I mean, I think that there's things that I may think that's wrong that you may not think that's wrong, and there's levels to it. So you may think that having your kid curse on camera is something that's like on a live. This happened a few days ago. So this mother, I can't pull it up right now, pause. But basically she was on live and she had her kid cursing like it was something crazy. It was something bananas. I feel that that's wrong, but she as a parent may feel that that's right. You know what I'm saying? And I could tell her that is wrong, but she may not feel that it's wrong, and she may continue doing it. So that's an example of an opinion that
kind of goes into our next segment as far as the generation of curse and how it impacted our communities. Because I can guarantee you that person that you're speaking of was a black mom and had a black child, which is so unfortunate. And they probably were a young parent. And I'm not going to say that just because you're a young parent, you can't raise your kids right. But that's a curse that they speak about in the Bible or in religions. I don't know. And I just think that that's just like, I don't like it. Now, let me tell y'all a secret. And my sister's on here watching. It ain't a secret for real. And please forgive me. Don't call me cursing me out. But my nephew or my niece or both of them, because they're twins, were cursing. Like, not just like outrightly just disrespectful cursing, but they were talking to me and they said something and it had a curse, and I had to look, clutch my motherfucking pearls. It was like, oh no, girl, I'm your aunt, we cool, but we ain't that cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that that's cool. I don't want you to respect me the way I had to respect my elders. That was what was taught to me. So that ain't a generational curse. Those is like morals, values, and things like that. Now, while it's okay for you to have those type of conversations with your parent if they allow you to do that, I wasn't allowed to start cursing in front of my parent until I got a lot older.
I still don't curse in front of my friend.
I know you cursed the other day on the phone, and you was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry." I said, "You know what?
Shit.
I do that too.
I was talking to my mom, and I was like, "Something about these kids and this shit." I said, "Oh my bad, mom. I said shit. I didn't mean to say shit."
Yeah, she did. She said, "I'm sorry. I said shit."
I'm sorry, mom. I said shit. I didn't want to say shit. Shit wasn't what I was trying to say.
It wasn't.
I don't want you to wash my mouth out with soap. Okay, so Whoa, wait, we got to get to the comments.
We're not there yet. We're not even.
No, we went to segment 2.
The third question. No, we're not. We're on third question in segment 1.
We're an hour and 11 minutes in.
It's okay. We're almost done. What is the importance of education when fighting to break generational curses? Education is important because basically, like, the more you educate yourself, the better off you can be. And I don't know if the producer that produced this particular segment today meant education in the school system or education within yourself. But I think that, what were you trying to say?
I think that if you educate yourself on where these generational curses originated from and what they are, because a lot of people don't even know what generational curses are for real. So I hope that when y'all watch this episode, you learn something, because I definitely learned a couple things today. So once you know what a generational curse is, you know where they come from, you know how to deal with them, you learn how to heal with them. I feel like this is all a part of educating yourself on what generational.
You've been
generational. I haven't been saying general. Generational curse is, then you can, break them. Like, I don't know. That's my answer.
What was it? Say what was that?
Generational curses.
Can what? Say it again. One more time.
Say the whole thing.
I didn't hear it. I was so stuck on general and laughing that I missed it.
Write this timestamp down for her so she'll go back and listen to it later. Because I don't even remember what I did.
Oh, you made that up on the top of your head. That was off the top of the dome.
Because if y'all want to see my paper,
my answer, y'all. All right, well, let's jump into our comments because we got some coming in. I think it's important. Let's go up to Yvonne Griffin at 1016. She said, yeah, my mom was addicted to all the shit. And I was like, yeah, not me. I will not. And I will change this curse. Applause to you, Miss Yvonne Griffin. And thank you for being transparent on our show. Yes, y'all, I'm a real life party girl. Okay. Yvonne Griffin says,
1031.
I broke the curses with living with roaches, type of meth, and rats. They was comfortable and they be naming them. I cursed my own out so bad. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying it. Like, what the fuck?
Yo. I just cannot with you at the moment. Angelique said, parenting changed from generation to generation. Young girls who are still going through puberty have babies without having the support needed to help them grow and develop as their baby grows in. I don't know what's coming out.
And generational curses are a warfare versus generational parenting. So what she's saying is that generational curses are very different than generational parenting. There's different types of.
I see what you're saying, but I feel like that's all one. That's just my opinion. I feel like it all falls underneath the same category. Parenting generationally or whatever, that's all still a part of generational curses. But I see what she's saying.
Hold on. Yvonne Griffith, my general, see, they got the people in the crowd saying general. My generational curse was my mom went to church 7 days a week and I go, well, and she doesn't go. Okay, so my sister at Ladies Promise Boutique, I thought that she was going to
cuss her out.
She says, I know they curse at the end of the day. All teenagers curse. We just don't curse in front of elders. They don't curse in front of me. Okay, well, tell them don't curse in front of me neither. Okay. Thank you guys for commenting. We will be jumping in to our comments after this next segment we're jumping into. So the segment 2 is generational curses and its impact on the community. What are some generational curses that you see affecting the community, especially our youth? And Mason, you go first.
I mean, we touched on it briefly. Yeah, I'm continuing. We touched on it briefly, and we talked about how cursing is a very small example, but from the physical, emotional, and the mental perspective, mentally, once you have a mind state and your mind state is stuck on one certain thing, it kind of affects you emotionally. If your mind state, or emotionally, if you're in a place where certain things are acceptable to you and certain things are, wrong, and you've learned to actually just live with it emotionally, it starts building up. So you'll learn things are wrong, and emotionally they'll just start building up and building up and building up until they explode on you. And that affects the people around you, because now you become short-tempered and all kinds of things, and then you pass that actual emotional curse, generational curse, onto your siblings. Sometimes you pass it on to your own kids, and so on and so forth. So I think that as a community, like, generational curses do affect us. I could go deeper, but I'm just leave it at that. Pause.
Pausing. I'm sick of you right
I'm
now.
not going deeper. Pause.
Go deep. No. All right. So, Lizzie, do you want to go next, or
I can. I have some written down. Some of the generational curses I think affect the Black community and the Black youth is the fact that they don't feel like they have to vote.
oh my gosh,
They feel like they don't have a voice in our government, so they don't feel the need to do that. Teen pregnancy, bad credit, not listening to our kids' cries out for help. That's definitely a big one in the Black community. Not building relationships with our kids, just wanting to be a parent and they be the child. Ignoring mental health. Ignoring mental health. If you have never seen our episode on mental health, please go back and watch it. It was a very informative episode. But in the Black community, mental health is definitely ignored or looked at that you are okay and you'll be better and things will work itself out. Let's just not tell anybody.
not seeking therapy. That's a generational curse. Not thinking that you should be speaking to someone that is educated enough to be able to help you and kind of like help you figure things out. That's
my last two I have on the list is growing up in a single parent home. I think single families in the Black community is definitely generational.
I agree.
And lastly, to piggyback over what Miss Kori Deez, aka Lemon Squeeze, that earlier.
Hold on, wait a minute. AKA the vessel. Don't forget the vessel.
Not acknowledging that our kids have feelings, telling them that you can't be tired. What are you sad about? You got everything you need. Sometimes our kids might really be sad or really be tired.
And that's why the suicide rate is really up.
High.
Because they feel like nobody is listening.
Because they're not.
And suicide may be the effect, because there's effects from generational curses, which we touched on throughout briefly. But that should have been a question. What are some of the direct effects of generational curses?
We can
ask it now.
We can. Depression.
Depression.
Suicide. Depression is one. Suicide.
Bad credit.
Because we need to stop putting our bills in our kids' names. Let me not say we, because I ain't never did that. But I know some people out there, your light bill is in Lil Nene name, and that ain't cool. Because when Lil Nene grow up, guess what? That's gonna pop up on her
now
credit.
I gotta teach her to report that you put fraud on her, and she don't want to send her parents to jail. I can help you make some report.
Now she can't get Xfinity because you had the cable bill on her name. No.
And then you didn't pay that. Why you didn't pay it? You
don't care about Lil Nene. Now what's she supposed to do?
Oh no, not for her.
Yeah, I like that name.
Lil Nene.
Lil Nene.
So my answers were something a little bit different. So, how it's affecting our community? A lot of people don't have life insurance.
Ooh, that is a good one.
Right? I think GoFundMe is very ghetto and very embarrassing. Okay. So let's, as a community,
get some life insurance.
Get some life insurance. And I know this because I had to experience this personally. Okay, now, all right, let's stay on topic. I had to experience these things. So not understanding how to be financially responsible.
Yeah.
Okay. The importance of giving your children a voice to advocate for themselves when needed. Forgiving sons for all their wrongs, but not daughters. Telling your kids that they don't know what it. Girl, you said the same thing.
What do you mean by forgiving sons but not daughters?
Because sometimes we make things acceptable for our sons that we don't make acceptable for our daughters. That's
You
like
can stay out to 10 o'clock, but you gotta be home at 8:30 because you a girl.
that's what's that? The double standard.
Yes.
Is that the double standard? The double standard is a generational curse.
It is.
If y'all want to talk about
You
it the way
treat your
y'all want to
son
talk about it.
differently because he's a boy, but you don't want to treat your daughter the same and give her the same. They twins. And she a girl here, boy. They the same goddamn age, born on the same goddamn day, but she can't do it because she a girl.
I have feelings about that. I think that's not, double standards with certain things is not double standards, because we live in a community right now. There's a video going around of this gentleman that walked by this girl, and then 2 seconds later he ran down the block, jumped on her back, and put his hand down her pants.
What?
That I'll send you the video later.
That's a little crazy. That's invading personal space.
That's normal.
That's invading, overstepping boundaries.
We both agree it's wrong, but it's normal. And it happens to girls way more than it happens to boys. So for me to say that, hey,
well, no, that's not true.
That's not true that it happens to girls way more. How many boys are raped in the lab? You want to look at how many boys are raped?
Wait a minute. Hold on. We can have a topic. Fact that boys are also molested and raped. Hold on, excuse me. We can't talk at the same time, ma'am. So you want to go first?
No,
you want to get yours out?
No.
All right. So, because it's not good for the Spotify, guys. So, what you can watch us on Hush Your Mouth at Spotify. I don't know. On Spotify.
No, on Spotify. Can't watch us.
No, seriously though. But boys are molested and they don't talk about it. Mm-mm. And so it's not as many reports. It's not as reported as a female being molested or raped or sexually abused or whatever the case is. That's not. That's so because growing up, I've seen a lot of things happen. I've been in a lot of different crowds. I've seen a lot of girls run down on a lot of men and just really put their hands in their pants the same way.
I'm definitely not saying it doesn't happen.
Okay.
We're not arguing that it happens or it doesn't happen. I'm just saying, like, there is a bigger likelihood of this happening to one versus the other. It's not right. It's not wrong. I'm not arguing. I'm not saying, hey, yeah, boys don't get touched and at all, or whatever the case may be. But I'm saying it's very frequent that this happens, right? So as a girl, you should be taught to protect yourself. You should be taught to be aware of your surroundings. I think that it's because of the society. So me saying that there's different rules for you, it's just facts. Just like there's different rules for black people. When you walk into a room as a black man, you are not going to be seen the same way as a white man that walks into the room. Even as a black woman that walks into the room. As a black man, you're not going to be seen the same. So me saying to you and having a conversation of how you carry yourself in a room is going to be different from my son and my daughter, right? Two different people, right? So as a black man, he has to carry himself in a certain way. As a black woman, she has to carry herself in a certain way. As a woman, she has to be looking out for that. Just like if we live in a high crime area, I'm going to speak to my kids about high crime areas. If we live in a picket fence area, some things I'm going to speak to them, yeah, but it's not going to be a stern conversation because that's not the environment that they live in. So in our world that we live in right now, statistics show that women get raped more than men. I didn't say that they get raped at all. Men don't get raped at all.
Based on statistics.
I'm saying based on the statistics. So why would I not prepare my child? I'm doing my child a disservice by not preparing them. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, it is a double standard, and some double standards are there for a reason.
Okay. Well, let me finish what I was saying though. Okay. So, I feel like incarceration is some of the things that we see affecting our community from generational curses. Usually when a parent is in jail or taken away from a child, I have the statistics, but I don't. They're like for like our high poverty states. First of all, I want to ask y'all a question. I just want to know, do y'all know? What do y'all think? Because, what do y'all think our most poverty-stricken states or communities are in the U.S.?
What do you mean, region or just
Region,
give a state?
place,
Just a
and
state.
state. I'm gonna give you one. Detroit.
Chicago.
Okay.
I was supposed to say. It's fine.
Definitely.
Detroit is one. What do you think is maybe a second one?
I'm not really good on geography.
Okay, let me do it. So, our most poverty-stricken places are Detroit, Newark, New Jersey, Hartfield, Connecticut. No, it's not Baltimore, Maryland. Ohio. I put Cleveland, Ohio. It's Cleveland, Ohio, and Dayton, Ohio. Rochester, and the poorest state is Mississippi, and their incarceration rate is 19.6. I don't know what I put there, but I got my notes a little crazy. But those were our poverty-stricken states, right? But Louisiana in 2014 had the highest rate of incarcerated parents. So how did that affect? Please stop putting on Miss Chris Jane. I don't know what's going on.
We need the comments to be on the screen. That's what's going on.
So, Louisiana was our highest rate of incarcerated parents, which affects the next generation of people, their offspring. And I read a report or like an article from a parent that was in prison, and he basically was saying like the effect of his mother being taken away from jail and taken away to jail, as well as the father, and then him ending up into a detention, and his actions and his behaviors during this time, which then would lead him to prison. So those are the things that I feel like are affecting our youth in our communities: incarceration and pregnancies and everything. I don't know. So how can generational curses affect your relationship and how you look? We touched briefly on this in segment 1, but let's get in tune. Let's get in depth. So, go ahead, because this, you know, wait a minute. Love in relationship is Miss Lizzie Baby's corner. That is what she likes. She likes.
Let me tell you this. Okay, so as a child, like I said before, we imitate what we see. So if you grow up in a household with a mom who's a wife, at some point in time, you're going to imitate what a wife looks like because that's what you grew up seeing. A lot of times you hear that men look for their mother and their wife. You hear that women look for their father and their husband. So I think that that's how it kind of affects your relationship, because what you grow up seeing is what you then seek. Like like what you were saying, I didn't grow up with a lot of people who were married, so marriage wasn't big to me. I'm the opposite. I grew up in a household with a wife and a husband. That's something I want for myself because I saw that as a child. But
can I interrupt you? Just hold that thought. And I have to interrupt you a little bit. And I know I said I was going to stop doing this, but I don't want to lose my thought. Do you think that because you saw, what does a wife do? Does a wife cater? Did you see your mom cater?
I did. Okay. My mother worked and she came home and took care of the household. And if you know me, you know that's who I am.
Right. And I think that not only do you cater to your household too much, not too much, you cater to other people around you too much because you have that trait inside of you.
So
okay. I'm done. I wanted to clarify if you saw that connection.
I do see that connection, and I know that comes.
And I don't see that as a bad thing.
It is a bad thing.
It is.
It can be both.
It can be both. Okay.
I can definitely acknowledge that I give too much of myself to people.
Do you feel like your mom gave too much of herself to those around her and to her home? No, this is a real question I'm asking.
I definitely believe that my mother broke her back. Did she have to, or should she have had to? I don't feel like she did.
Does she still to this day?
She still to this day breaks her back for her household. Breaks it. And I don't think that that's completely the right thing to always do. But that's what I know. And I know that I give my all to all kind of relationships. My friendships, my relationships, whatever type of situation I got going on, I always give me. And everybody doesn't deserve that. But because
I think that's the key right there. Everybody doesn't deserve it.
Everybody doesn't deserve Miss Lizzie Baybee. Miss Lizzie Baybee is a different type of bitch, okay? And everybody doesn't deserve to get a piece of her. And I think that that's something that I've been learning. And that's why I say I'm a work in progress. And I know that one thing I have acknowledged about myself recently, and I've shared this with my close friends, I sacrifice too much of myself. I sacrifice myself too much. And I am learning not to, because it's not beneficial to me, to my emotional health, to my mental health, to my physical health, none of it. So acknowledging that now at my age, I hope that in the long run, I build better relationships. I build better friendships. I build a better relationship with myself, because I think I've definitely been working on the relationship with myself. And I want to thank all my friends who have been supporting the relationship with myself. But yeah, I think that, you know, having whatever upbringing you have and whatever household you grow up in, it determines on who you are as a person, which then determines who you are in a relationship, and also determines what you accept, what you don't accept, because of what your parents accept. But what I did see on the internet today that hit home for me, and I wrote it down, it says, stop rushing to find and force love like our grandparents and parents had, and start asking real questions on what we didn't see. You saw a perfect family. You saw a loving relationship. What about what we didn't see? So I was talking about this at work, as always. And my supervisor said he grew up in a family where his mom and his dad got along. He never saw them argue. He never saw them get into quarrels. He never saw any of that. But as an adult now in a loving relationship, he wished he had them, because he doesn't know how to communicate certain things. He doesn't know how to work through certain problems completely, because he never saw somebody in a position like that do so. So I feel like you can get benefits from that aspect of generational curses, as far as how your relationship works and how you work through your relationship. But we also have to acknowledge that there are things about the relationships that were around us as kids that we didn't know nothing about. So until we ask these uncomfortable questions and, you know, learn more about the relationships that were around us, we can't completely search wholeheartedly for what we saw, because what we saw wasn't everything.
Well
Okay.
said.
Well fucking said. Lizzie Baby's on fucking fire tonight. Let's talk about that. My girl did her homework. She wanted to talk about the generational curses. Like, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And I'm proud of you for not crying, because I know you personally.
This is a topic that's a little touchy for me, because I definitely believe that generational curses exist. And we can't fix them until all parties acknowledge them. I can sit here and yell and scream and jump up and down and stomp my feet, but if you don't agree with me, guess what? Where are we getting? I will learn. I will heal. I will move on. But guess who's not? You. And most of the time, generational curses don't just affect you. But at the end of the day, my goal is to never allow my kids, my two daughters that I love with everything in me, to never experience any of the things that I have. But I also think that that's part of a generational curse, because then it gets to the point where, oh no, my daughter can't go outside, my daughter can't go here, she can't do this. So it all goes back to the main thing of healing.
And I think my generational curse affects me, or my curse, or whatever we're going to say it is, because my first answer definitely took y'all for a root. It affects me and my household in a way where, you're right, I'm more easy to be like, oh no, fuck this shit, I'm over it, I'm ready to go. I seen my mama leave. I seen my mama in several different relationships over the course of, like, until I was like 10. And then she stayed in a long-term relationship for a significant amount of time, which still has led to non-marriage. I don't know how you say that. Like, she's still not married with that relationship, but she's still in it in a sense. And I think how that affected her, and I just don't want that. But it affects me in a way where I give my kids everything that I didn't have, right? I got some spoiled ass motherfucking kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, is anybody out there wants to come take them off my hands? Please come take them off my hands because I'm tired. No, but I think I'm grateful, and God has blessed me in a way that I was able to do things for them. And my mission, my sole mission, has always been to give them a life that I didn't have. You know what I mean? So for me, it was just like, yeah, no, that's it's. I'm starting a generational curse, if you want to think about it, because now
they're gonna spoil their kids.
We're gonna have a bunch of generation, or they're gonna have a lack of work ethic. And this can affect them far deeply than what I've foreseen. And I'm noticing that because I have a 15-year-old, and he's not how ambitious I was or how hungry I was at 15. At 15, I had jobs. 16, I had jobs on top of jobs. And he doesn't have good work ethic, but we're working on it. We're working on it because we know that we can change these things. We can educate him in a way that can be more beneficial for my offspring and grandchildren to come. I can't even picture me having grandkids, but I'm going to say that because I know I'm going to have some, but I don't like that.
Bernice Burgos has grandkids.
Yo, bro, she don't even post them kids. But whatever, we don't
post nothing. We post some bikinis. Shout out to her.
But how can our generational curses affect your relationships and how you love? As we already said, and I spoke about this earlier, it affects me in a way where I'm not the easiest person to be in a relationship with because my point of views are so like hard. You know, someone once said to me, and I was in a relationship with this person, and they said to me, "You don't got to be so hard with me." But I just felt like that was the only way that I knew how to be. You know what I mean? Like, I just know that I know survival, and that's all I know. Mm-hmm. I don't know love. I'm learning love, and I'm 31. So to someone else, it's like, well, why don't you know this and stuff like that? And I'm looking at other people like, well, why don't you know that? But that, it all goes back to what you grew up on.
Survival or love.
Survival or love. Mason.
Well, I'm a lot like you as far as that's concerned. I think that I'm used to doing things by myself. I think I'm of that survival ilk, and for me, it's hard to let people in and let people actually do anything for me. So for me, I'm used to, like, it's always been just me, support system, just me, like. It's always just been me. So for me, that's I guess my curse that I have to deal with and that I try not to like pass to my kids. But it's always just been me figuring it out. Everything I had to figure out. If I wanted to, travel, I had to figure it out. If I wanted to, as a kid early, I had to ride the buses in New York City, and I had to figure that out. There wasn't an older brother or sister or somebody showing me how to do it. I had to figure that out. So for me, that extends into all parts of my life. So if I want to learn something technical, I learned to figure it out, whether it was Google or back in the days, it was, actually having to go to a library or, however, you know what I'm saying? Like, I had to always figure it out. So I think that affects me in my relationships and things like that, where it's just like, it's hard for me to let people in because I'm just been such a loner my whole entire life that for me to have any type of other person, that's nothing that I'd be comfortable with. I'd be a little bit like, why are you, why are you putting out my clothes? Like, I could put out my own clothes. Like, why are you ironing? Why are you doing anything like that? Because, like, I've done that for my entire life. Since I was 13, I've washed my own clothes and taken care of my own self. So, like, for somebody else to do that now, it'd just be like, that's weird.
Do you have a hard time doing things that you do independently for other people, though? Like, do you, like, like in a relationship? Like you wash your own
No,
clothes and
I'm more of a giver in a relationship, and then so I don't have a problem giving in a relationship.
no
I
giving.
have a
Okay, so
problem.
you wash. Okay, let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
So you wash your own clothes since you was 13. That's a routine. That's a ritual for you.
yeah.
A ritual. Uh, so now you're in a relationship and your girlfriend's working a crazy week. Are you like necessarily washing her clothes? Like,
I
are you thinking about that first? Are you like, is that a first thought for you?
actually my first thought is myself, so I wouldn't
Okay,
even
I
think
just want
about.
to know if it was just me.
Like I wouldn't like. It's sad, and it's
I think
just.
for me a
Sad.
second.
And I recognize that, and if I catch myself, I catch myself. But my first thought is,
So
take care of my
because
body.
you grew up more independent
Hmm.
and that's what you've seen,
Hmm.
that's how you love. You love
That's
independently.
yeah. So I mean, that's just how I am, and it's to my detriment, to my to my benefit. So it's a little bit of both, but I
Yeah.
recognize that that's how I am. Like it's not. It is what it is. I
So
will
what
learn
kind
to
of woman
grow.
needs to be able tell the woman out there, Mason, what kind of woman needs to be able to deal with you? Like what kind of woman what is the woman that
I
needs to be
mean,
able to Mason looks like? Let's put this at 143.
what is this, a dating show?
Fine basic somebody.
Anyway, I mean, for me, it takes a lot. Like I think I'll give a lot, but I require a lot too. So I mean, it ain't just the average Joe
Because what I'm asking you this
thing.
for, and it's a reason. I know you think I'm just being funny because I'm funny, but I'm asking you this because a woman that was raised with a woman figure that was a married woman, she's gonna come and she's gonna wash your clothes, she's gonna iron them, she's gonna lay them out for you for your work week. She's gonna come and cook you dinner. She's going to maybe run your bath water. I know they were trying to cancel Cater to You, but Cater You was designed by
like me.
by women that seen other women catering to a man. What kind of woman is it that you would need as a man? Because that does describe how you love.
Hmm.
You're a man that loves like you're like an independent. I'm independent.
Yeah, I mean, for me, those walls will probably come down one day, but it'll
One
take a
day,
lot. Yeah, it will take a lot. I'm honest with it will take a lot because again, I give a lot, so I would expect a lot. So I would gradually get into a comfort level of that. But I think the plus part of that is I wouldn't let her do everything. I would probably jump in and do stuff. It would take a lot out of me to sit back and let her do everything. You know what I'm saying? So at the
right?
same point in time, but I would have to learn to accept, but at the same because I know life is about give and take. So I'm not ignorant to that. So I get that.
It's so funny because I think that this segment affected me with this question specifically in a way that I always say, like, I wasn't raised with a dad or a parental figure, and I wasn't raised to see what love looked like, right? What love looked like. So it kind of affects the woman that I am, but not only does it affect the woman that I am, it's more so one of those things where it's like, I don't know what that type of woman looks like. I'm learning these things because of people like Miss Lizzie Baybee or my cousin Chris Jane or my sister who brings different things to me. Like I need to speak differently to my significant other. I need to treat them differently. But I'm used to being like I spent more time being like this than that. My now, even though me and my cousin are related, or my sister are related, we all grew up in different households, right? And having a man, I'm speaking from a woman's point of view, having a man involved definitely will change your output, your outlook on how you should conduct yourself as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
It
I
will.
agree. I
Okay,
agree.
so I just wanted to see if that was like something. Now, the question that we were missing was how does generational curses affect your finances?
Mm.
That was the question that was mixed up in our segment.
Generational curses affect finances. I want to say kind of like what you said earlier, Mason, because of slavery. it puts the black community at the bottom. So naturally, you're placed in poverty, you're placed in a box or whatever. And then you have some people who want to break that curse, like, no, I don't belong here. I'm going to go up there. I'm going to make sure that I exceed whatever they expect of me. But then you have the people who are like, well, this is what they said I'm going to be, so this is what I'm going to be. This is what they said I can accomplish. This is what I'm going to accomplish. So I think that because of slavery and because of the history of the black community, the way it affects finances is a lot of people don't know how to take care of themselves. A lot of people don't know how to balance a checkbook or to, spend their money correctly. A lot of times they always say they get a black people money. They going out there spending, buying a new Jordan, they're getting a new pocketbook, they're getting this, they're getting that. That's part of a generational curse. It is. We don't know what to do when we get money.
Right, because when you feel like you ain't never had shit, you don't know what to do when you get shit.
Exactly.
So now you're not financially literate, which is what I spoke about in the first segment. To have shit. Like, to know what to do with shit. I like shit.
Exactly. I mean, that has a lot to do with a lot of things. I think media has to do with that. I think that where we feel like we should be, I think that emotionally it has things to do with it. I think we dress a certain way because emotionally it makes us feel better. New pair of Jordans make me feel better. It makes me feel like I've accomplished something. It makes me feel stylish. Huh?
That's you.
It makes you feel stylish. Maybe a bag will make you feel stylish. I don't know. I'm using sneakers for me. But a bag will make you feel stylish. And that bag, economically, it probably isn't feasible. You don't need it.
Let me tell you something.
It carries things.
That I want to share with Hushima before we head out.
I wasn't finished, but you finished and then I'll finish.
Sorry.
So that's why we do what we do. And if you look at it, like I'm wearing the Black Wall Street shirt right now today, I think that was an example of what we don't do enough of. And when we've ever done it, it's been burnt down. So Black Wall Street was a great example of a community of black people working together in its own silo. And it had everything from barbershops to grocery stores to several black businesses to prominent doctors to nurses to lawyers. It had everything in it for a self-sustainable community. And what happened to that in Tulsa, Oklahoma? It was burnt down. Somebody found it to be a threat, and they decided to take that threat out. So whenever we work together economically to put ourselves at a advantage, it's always been destroyed, taken down, or something has happened where it collapses. So it's hard for our community to actually work together and take that next step.
And you know what? That's something that you said. First of all, you got me fucked up. All right, hold on. So, I have a bad problem. I think I buy almost every Telfar bag that comes out. He's a black designer, and I support him. But I buy them bags and them shit sit in my closet. I got bags that I got, and I ain't never even took outside yet. Why? Because you only need one bag, really, to take you outside, right? A big one, a medium one. But I like that. So, but when I'm buying it, I tell myself like, oh my God, it makes me feel better. No, it really don't. I be sitting there like, and when I go in my fucking closet, I be like, oh my God, this is sad. But
what they don't teach us is how to buy those luxuries, though. Like, we see those luxuries, and it's like, it's the how to buy those luxuries. It's like, what money are you using to buy those luxuries? Are you using, are you pushing forth your rent money to buy your luxuries?
You gotta know when you rent, like, you gotta save up for it, and then you gotta just, when you
should enjoy your money.
Congratulations, Pete.
Exactly, to a certain extent, and you got to realize, hey, like, if I want to go on vacation, why don't I prioritize owning a rental home first? Let me own a rental home and use the profits from that rental home to go on vacation.
Oh, that's right? A good idea.
Why don't? Yeah, it's not new. It's something that's been going on. How about what are your biggest expenses? What's your biggest expenses? Usually your rent. Like, your rent is probably your number one expense. Why aren't you buying a multifamily house? And instead of living or paying somebody else rent, why aren't you putting that money towards buying a multifamily house, renting out the other units, and not paying any rent for yourselves. Why don't you do that? Take that money, get another multifamily house, move out of that, do the same thing. Take that money, get another multifamily house, do that, do the same thing until you have enough to buy your own house. And then those 3 or 4 or 5 rental properties pay for your own house. See, like, we don't think like that where other communities think like that. And the only reason I know is because I'm either reading books or I'm listening to different podcasts or having different conversations. But that's the way to get to those luxuries. You talked about life insurance. Life insurance is such a big way to create generational wealth in several ways. You're thinking, first thought is, oh, when they die, I get the money. No, not necessarily. There's ways for you to actually borrow money against your life insurance and buy those houses. And you see what I'm saying, how it trickles down. But the majority of it is we don't know. And we don't have people that know that are around us. I'm sorry, go ahead. I went on a tangent.
No, you're fine. And this is like enlightenment, and I love that about our show because we enlighten each other as well as others. So Jews start saving up for their children, even every penny, every nickel, every dime, every quarter. The smallest thing. I used to throw away change. Dumbest shit ever. Why the fuck are you throwing away money? Right? Because I thought I was above a penny. No, bitch. Pennies turn into dollars. Well, pennies turn into cents. Cents turn into dollars. And they save every penny from the time that they find out that they are pregnant for that person. That's important. Like savings. People don't have savings.
We can get into that where we talk about a 529 plan.
Listen, let me tell you something. You're supposed to have a savings plan that can support you for the next, what is it, year?
Months. You go 3 months as an emergency fund. If you have any more than 3 months, you should definitely be investing because I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not.
Disclaimer. We need to put
this is disclaimer. I'm just telling you what I know, and what I know is that you should have a certain amount as an emergency fund, and then once you get to that certain amount, it's usually 2 to 3 months. Everything else should be invested because sitting on money that, like, if you sit on a year's worth of money, you're probably doing yourself a disservice because you could have had doubled, or you could have made not doubled, but you could have made 8 to 10 to 13% on that same amount of money that you was just having sitting there. So that's not economically smart.
Okay.
But I say that to say this. You are right. You should have a savings. You should have an emergency fund. That should be.
You should have life insurance.
Right. You should have life insurance. There's different kinds of life insurance. So educate yourself on what kind would work best for you.
Gerber, whoever.
Exactly. I think that one of the things that I read and I heard about was that, say for instance, we're all sisters and brothers or whatever the case may be, and then we have a grandparent. What they do is they make sure that grandparent has life insurance, even if they never had it in their entire life. We get together because the premium is going to be higher because they're older, and we pay that life insurance. We make sure that they have life insurance, so that way, once they get to that point, they're taken care of and we're taken care of. So that's something that people do. The oldest family member, the whole entire family, make sure that they actually have life insurance because it's going to cost you way more later on.
That's smart.
Yeah.
So really, guys, honestly, I forgot what I was going to say earlier because we got on a whole bunch of different things. So to sum up what we talked about, let's be better people. As a community, as a generation, first of all, I want to talk about this on an episode, but I don't know if y'all want to talk about this. And this is my first time presenting this to y'all on Hush Your Mouth when we're live. So I want to talk about the generations, like X, Y, Alpha, because there's
There's an Alpha generation?
The next generation is Alpha.
Alpha. That's the first I'm hearing that.
Yes, the next generation is Alpha. And so I want to talk about what's expected of that generation because I feel like we as millennials are doing what we were supposed to do. We're bringing information and knowledge. We're utilizing the things that we never had before. To the best of our abilities, we can probably do better and more.
Shit.
But
great name.
Alpha,
I want to
ain't.
be alpha.
I want to be alpha too. I'm like, damn, I'm a millennial.
Millennials.
No, it's
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, I was just thinking that whole time.
Alpha. And
That's
so
dope.
I don't know what they're supposed to do, but I'm definitely going to have a baby in Generation of Alpha because I want one. And this is the first time y'all hearing it here on Hush Your Motherfucking Mouth.
Announcement.
And so I just want us to do better. We have to do better as a community, as a people, as a generation. We have to enlighten one another. We have to give light. We have to spread love. We have to overcome our traumas. We have to not beat up our past, right?
In order to help others and help your community, you gotta help your damn self. If you ain't a good you, how you gonna be a good you to some? How you gonna teach me to be something you ain't? How you gonna teach me to heal if you ain't healed? How you gonna teach me accountability if you ain't taking none? So I think breaking generational curses starts with taking accountability. Take accountability. Stop acting like you don't know what's there. Open your pretty little eyes and look around. Because it's been here. It's been going on. It's been happening. Acknowledge it. Heal from it. Change it. Move forward. Whatever if you gotta fucking punch somebody, shit, if that's gonna make you feel better. I support.
We are not advocating violence.
No, we are not advocating
Not advocating violence.
Whatever you need to do to heal, you gotta go. You know they got some places you can go smash shit up.
Oh yes, go do that.
I heard
we
that.
Do that.
Somebody told me to go do that.
We need to do that.
I want to go smash shit. I want
me too. I want to
put pictures up.
I like busting windows out of
cars. I want to put pictures up though. Smash some shit. I don't know. Let's just work on being a better us individually, so we can work on being a better family, your whole household.
Try to keep your black family together, like in our community. No, wait a minute. No, for real. No, let's try to work harder. Let's not do what we was taught and leave our significant others and the head of our households, which is our. Damn, that's hard for me to say. That's so hard for me to say. It's our men. You see me? It's so hard for me to say.
Because another generational curse is not letting go. Needs to be let go of. So if you need to let go of, you need to let that shit go too.
She's triggered. She's triggered now. Now she's triggered.
Completely
I didn't even trigger her, but I'm saying, though, women, let's try to work harder. We cannot do it all by ourselves. We cannot wear the weight of the world on our shoulders. We cannot keep taking care of the families in the household. We need a man. We need a male figure. We need a person to be able to carry it on with us. Our families were not meant to be a one-part person. No, it was meant to be two parts. Okay? There's the head and there's the tail. You got to pick one. Be the head or be the tail. But don't be it by yourself because you need both. And Mason, what do you think for our closing arguments or whatever before we jump into our comments, and also say where you can find us at?
I mean, 100%. It's all about that education piece. It's about knowing who you are, realizing the three parts: the physical, the emotional, and the mental, and making sure that you're taking care of that daily, regardless of generational curses or whatever. Just make sure you're taking care of your physical, your mental, and your emotion, because you only got one you. And at the end of the day, like Lizzie said, you gotta make sure you take care of you for not only yourself but the people around you as well, whether it be family, friends, or whomever. Because the better you are, the better you can take and impact your family and your friends and your community.
And the better we are as a community.
And let's normalize being able to say out loud that you're not okay. So I'm gonna be the first, y'all. I am not okay. Take a page out of my book.
Okay.
Well, let's jump into our comments. So, 1037, Yvonne Griffin, the school changed by not beating these kids. That curse we had to go through, and now these kids are beating the teachers. Wow. This is true, because back in the day, it took a village to raise a child, and your teachers, I heard about these days. I never experienced or lived personally these days, but I heard about the days where the teachers used to beat your motherfucking kids, and bring them to you and tell them that they beat your kids, and it was never a problem because we understood that if they beat your fucking kids, they beat your kids for a fucking reason. A lot of parents
bringing back the beatings.
No, I'm not advocating bringing back beatings because I don't promote. I'm not a big beater in my own household. I don't beat my kids in my own household, and I think that that's the emotional intelligence that we are, we are kind of like we know now. You know what I mean? Like we know what emotional intelligence is. We don't know why that child was acting out that day. So while the parents was back in the day beating the motherfucking kids, they didn't know what that kid was going through at home and why those kids was acting out and why they felt like they needed an ass whooping. So we don't want to necessarily bring that back, but we want to bring back communication and being able to vocally express yourself appropriately. And I call it expressing yourself appropriately. That's just what I call it. But I don't know what y'all want to call it. But no, I don't want no kids. I don't want no my kids ain't at school beating up no teachers because they know better because I'm going to beat their ass when they come home. Okay, wait. 1040. I am a mental therapist. All of my patients are from our community and embrace psychotherapy. It could be a problematic to understand how to link the services. And that person also commented here on our Instagram, and she said she's willing to give therapy on a sliding scale for the people with Hush Your Mouth. So shout outs to her.
Inbox me.
Kori's getting face tonight. Mason, you have a point. What about in jail men being incarcerated? We spoke on this. They thought Maryland and Harlem was the most poverty infected areas. And that's all we have for tonight's show. Oh wait, did I miss something? Oh no, go up. I missed that, Mason. There are more stigmas attached to the Black community. A curse is supernatural power caused to invoke fear. And I think that, what do you guys think about that?
To a degree. I think that the fear part is true. I think that we're fearful of having conversations, for instance, when something is wrong and we don't it's easier for us to brush it under the rug and to not address it. So I think that there is a level of fear in that. I think that knowing yourself, there's a level of fear because you're scared of what you might find out.
And that's exactly what I said earlier. I mean, someone that said to do a family tree, you got to make sure that you're comfortable with it and then trying to figure it out because it's going to be uncomfortable. There's no telling. If you know what you've been through, there's no telling what you'll find out about somebody in your family.
So me and Ms. Lizzie Baybee are saying it here first on Hush Your Mouth. We are going to do a genotype together. And one day we will revisit this conversation.
I'm not interested to know what I don't really want to know what I don't already know.
We want to thank you today for joining Hush Your Mouth ENT on YouTube, Hush Your Mouth on Spotify, and Hush Your Mouth ENT on Instagram. We want to thank you. You can find me, Kori Deez, at lemon, LEMON _squeeze SQUEEZ3 on Instagram.
You can find me at Miss Lizzie Baybee at MISSLIZZIE
Baby. You can find me on Instagram at YNBS_ It's Mason, as always.
And do not forget, guys, July 24th, it's going to be lit, literally, in the grill. Make sure you come through and support. And you can always hit our DMs, especially Mason's, because I don't want to hear anything else about his lips. So tell him directly at YNBS_ It's Mason, because I'm no longer interested in hearing about your girl's favorite. Your girl's favorite. Before we go, guys, about our shirts, are we going to talk about it or no? What about our shirt? Remember we said we was going to talk about before we
Oh, we want to hear you guys comment in the description or either DM us about what shirts do you think are more favorable. So y'all want Mason to be your girl's favorite because he's your girl's favorite.
Or do y'all want him to be Pause
or your favorite's favorite? Mason. Cause y'all
what was yours, Kori? What was yours?
What is
I'm drunk. Now hush your fucking mouth.
Hey.
And now